Wow, need to do something about this hair. So on this episode of Tiny Life Takeover, I'm going to show you the shower and how we decided to put it all together. I hope that all of this stuff inspires you to kind of go, you know what, maybe this is possible. For example, there's a couple that came over here and they wanted to put something next to the water, but they knew that everybody was going to be against them putting something so close to the ocean. And when they saw the composting toilet and the solution that I have for the water, all of a sudden it became possible for them. And living in a tiny home that's kind of self-contained and compact is it opens up the possibilities for people to use pieces of land or places that they have access to that they never thought possible. And that's the true gem of this project and sharing it like I'm doing. So let's get into it. All right, so as you can see, my basement is out of its socket, and way off in that corner behind the holding tank is where we're going to be doing our work today, which is the drain for the sheep trough that my dad is sitting in right now to be able to get a functional shower drain. One of the challenges that I have is that I have a small tank. There's about right now 75 gallons worth of water. I don't know how much water I can budget to take a shower. I've heard 2 gallons a minute. We'll see how it goes. As you know, that hot water tank is 4 gallons, so I really have to conserve the water that I use. But this is how we're moving forward with the shower, and it's kind of a smart way of doing it. I'm really proud of this, and really it was a combination of what I wanted to do in the past was create something that went down and let the shower curtain wrap around, and it could go, and it was really complicated. So for a long time my dad and I went back and forth on it, and what happened was, as we were looking to put this in place, I actually stood with the shower unit, and this, if I would have brought that down too low, this would have come down to like here. So that changed the plan completely to move it up. As you can see, the original pipes were down there, and basically had to move it up so that I have room to go underneath this rainfall shower head, I suppose it's called. So the big challenge is going to be make sure that we get that pin hole down exactly where it needs to be. All right, so what are we doing in this step?
Well, this is the plywood that we made the hole through for that drain to go through, but we need to put some silicone, certain layer all around on top of this clay floor, and as well so that it will seal on top of the tub here. So we need to seal that as well. So everything will be sealed. And then there's the adapter underneath the floor. I'll put a bead on top of it. And once everything is screwed in place, everything will be sort of sandwiched and everything will be all sealed.
And what are
So there should be no leak.
What are you using to seal it?
It's silicone, and it's
the same that we used for the sink?
Yeah,
Butcher
and
box.
it's a mold-free
All right.
product.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right.
Let's do that.
All right. Well, here's what we've got going on. So from the tub going down into our P-trap, and then converts into this line that just goes into the holding tank. So pretty simple concept. It seems to work fine. Now to test it. Well, all right. The time has come to test this thing and to show you where it's at. Let me just pull the curtains out a little bit. All right, it's time to go. As you can see, the whole point was that when you're looking into the washroom, although you have this bigger shower space, it doesn't visually take away from the beauty and the simplicity of this design. Got a little plants now, just a little greenery, something to start with. So before I forget, one thing that I've wanted to mention was, if you can see it right here, I have a knot that's coming out. So I have a buddy of mine who has shiplap on his house, and his ceiling, the knots have all come out. And we couldn't figure out, because I helped him seal it up, and he had bought this very expensive product that was a guarantee that the knots wouldn't come out. And it was just a mystery. How come? And it looks, you know, still a nice ceiling, but all of the knotty pine stuff coming out, it just leaves to be desired. So when I saw that I had some coming out here, for me, it dawned on me. The heat from the heater is what pulls out that sap. Regardless of how you stain it or what you do to it, that sap will be pulled out by the heat. So I'm kind of glad that I kept my ceiling this way, because if not, I probably would have seen the same thing. All the heat rises, and that heat pulls out the sap from the pine. So for me, mystery solved. And for anybody that's going to be using knotty pine with a white ceiling or anything, based on my buddy's experience and my experience here, proving to me that it's the heat that draws that out. A few people have mentioned there's a few ways to fix it. Either paint the whole thing black and then paint the whole thing white. There's all sorts of different ways of doing it, but I just wanted to pass that along in case you're making some design decisions and you're looking to have a white ceiling using shiplap for knotty pine. That's a situation that will likely happen. Thought I'd pass that along. And so I wanted to add, if you're wondering, is that we just put this trough down. We just have this kind of rubberized padding underneath so it doesn't move, but also we've added on each side just these stoppers on that side and then on this side, and then also one in the back so that you don't accidentally hit this and then kind of change all this up. So that's as simple and as minimalistic as that is. And so the idea, you see how there's like, this is shiplap behind this. I didn't put any ceramic or anything because in a tiny house, when you move it, it can break and crack. And also the cost, just putting some backboard in order to put some ceramic tile on, the price is just incredible. So I went as simple and minimalistic as I could, and it turned out amazing, and I really enjoy using the shower. I have to say that with the water tanks and all, I probably have 40 seconds to a minute of water that I'm using. So typically I'll go in, I'll start it up, take me 10 seconds to douse, and then I shut it off. And one of the things I wanted was to be able to actually set it to the temperature and then just stop the water, soap up, you turn it back on again. And then because of the amount of water that comes down, it takes me like 30 seconds to get the soap off. But that's for me, and it may be different for you, but that's all about putting something in place that works for you, and this turned out beautifully. So that's it for this episode of Tiny Life Takeover. As you can see now, it's a little bit nicer outside. I'm getting to enjoy the river, my fishing gear at the door. This is what it is. Actually, this morning I went canoeing and fishing before I'm starting work. Maybe I'll end off with a couple of clips of that. Some of the beauty of enjoying a spot like this, because of the fact that you can actually build a tiny house and you want to, and it's functional, and it's, for me, a luxury. This is the nicest home that I've ever lived in and built, with good memories with my dad. So what am I doing next? Next is going to be finishing up this hidden table. You just wait. It's the frosting on top of the cake. So with all that said, folks, get out there, go find your spot, make it happen. If you have any questions or wondering how you can figure things out, that's what we're all here for, because we're all in this together. So that said, please take care of each other, and God bless.